Hey, everybody. Welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from giantbomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about previews popping up for one of the fall's big games and quite a bit more. It's going to be a good one because we have Rhiannon Bevan on the show. Rhiannon, how are you doing?
I'm doing very good, thank you. Very good to be back.
Yeah, glad to have you back on the show. Always appreciate when we can have you on. How have things been going? What are you playing right now? What are you working on? What's life like?
Oh God, it's a bit all over the place. It's been a while since I've been on. I just want to quickly give a shout out to everyone in the audience who followed me afterwards. Everyone's been so lovely. So thank you all for the very, very warm welcome. I really appreciate that. As you can tell by the amount of ums, I don't do a lot of talking. I very much have a voice
I'm
for
just as
typing.
guilty.
So, yeah, it's really great to do this. Playing before the September rush, I've been like allowing myself a little treat and just replaying stuff that I really like. So I'm doing
awesome.
another Cyberpunk run, another Baldur's Gate 3 run, before I be a journalist and play some new stuff.
Yep, it's getting to be about that time. But yeah, the summer did give it I took a small vacation, and I always try to play some old game on there, and I played Sin and Punishment, and I keep looking back at that. I'm like, that was awesome. That was really cool to play an old video game during that time, because now it's I definitely already have stuff where I'm like, oh, I should be working on this for work. It's keeping me very busy. But yeah, I mean, it's all hell's gonna break loose here in the next couple of weeks, and it's probably not gonna settle down until sometime after GTA 6 in November. So we'll have to kind of just keep our head above water until then.
Then we've got February afterwards. It's just going to be chaotic again. Yeah.
You're right. Exactly. Maybe there's another small break around Christmas time where I could play another old game. We'll see. But yeah, let's, it's Friday. Let's get into the show. Let's get started, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Let's explain ourselves. We're Giant Bomb. We're internet video game doofuses. We like to make stuff our way, and we could do that with your help. Go to giantbomb.com/join, become a member. If you do so, you're supporting independent games media. You're supporting us just kind of going, hey, we have an idea. We want to do something let's make fun of that Saber CEO or whatever. We can do that because you guys just let us do what we want, and we really appreciate that. We know we're not beholden to anybody, and it's all because of you. Thank you so much. If you do become a premium member, you get ad-free versions of our shows. You get premium exclusives. This is the run is happening right now with Sewer Shark, which has been a ton of fun. On Monday, if you're a premium member, live, you're going to be able to react to the reveal of Catwoman for GameCube. Jerf's been playing that for Blight Club, but we're going to do a special reveal episode where you all can see it happen live if you're a premium member. So go ahead and join right now so you don't miss out on that. As far as this show goes, most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you were watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Wolverine previews are out. I'll kind of go through this somewhat comprehensively, so we just kind of get a good idea of what people are saying about the game here, but I kind of collected a bunch of thoughts from people. The broad consensus from the 2-hour hands-on preview has been very positive. It sounds like Insomniac is taking a lot of the familiar PlayStation action game ingredients, not necessarily just Spider-Man stuff, and applied it here. So it's Arkham-style melee combat, skill trees, cinematic storytelling, light exploration, and stealth. At least that is according to Tam over at GameSpot, who has a pretty excellent review of this going right now if people want to go read that. As you might expect, it's light heavy attacks, parries, dodges, gap closing leaps, and special abilities. And the combat was very dialed in according to these preview builds. As Logan is fighting, he builds up his rage meter, and that enables him to he can spin that rage to recover health. But then that might go into the Berserker Rage, which turns him feral and unleashes him. And apparently the combat at that point becomes even more simple, and he just kind of rushes around and almost plays itself. But everyone who was kind of explaining this mechanic was saying, oh, it really does feel like something primal is taking him over, and that worked as well. His healing factor doesn't mean he's invincible, though. He has a conventional health bar and can die. But if you have rage, you can basically get back into any fight by spinning that to heal. And yeah, in terms of the structure of the game, which is the thing, Rhiannon, I've been most like, okay, what is this going to feel like in comparison to Spider-Man? It's not Spider-Man, but it's also not like a corridor going from one room to the next sort of linear game. It is, and it's maybe not even somewhere in between. It is a linear game that has some open areas where Wolverine can use some of his other abilities, like he has, super smell or whatever, so he can detect stuff that gives you an opportunity to use that and explore a space. And those happen pretty frequently as well. And then I guess the final note that I wrote down here is from Callie Plaguey over at The Verge, saying she doesn't really care about Wolverine. She played this preview, came away from it going like, oh, I'm into this. I'm into this character. I'm into the story. I think this writing is good. And I think I want to know what happens to Logan. And I'm like, okay, that I think I was hoping for that from Insomniac. I do enjoy both Spider-Man, or not just both, also Miles Morales and then Spider-Man 2. I think those stories are pretty solid for what they are. And I like Wolverine quite a bit, so I'm hoping that this is something they can deliver here as well. Sounds like it's all coming together, and this is PlayStation's very, very biggest game that they have for quite some time. So you would expect them to really pull no punches here. How are you, like when you hear these previews, when you hear the sort of early impressions, what are you thinking?
This is like a major test, right? Because, I mean, Wolverine is huge, but it's not Spider-Man huge.
Nothing.
Also,
almost nothing is, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And then I remember when we got some trailers, not these previews, but some trailers beforehand, I kind of started to see, I'm not sure how much stock I should put on, like people on Twitter say, but, even other places as well, we're kind of starting to sour perhaps to the Insomniac formula with these games.
Definitely.
And we're making fun of just like, what the gameplay mechanic's going to be like. And I'm already seeing people do that now with like the scent mechanic. So it's not as much as like a guaranteed home run as Spider-Man 2 was for it, but it's still going to do really well because they said PlayStation is PlayStation. This is their big game that they've got at the moment. It's Marvel. Wolverine is Wolverine. X-Men are huge. Avengers. What's the new one called? I'm so out the loop now. Oh my god. Doomsday? Is that the one? Oh my god.
I think that's the next one. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
That's introducing X-Men, so it's fairly safe. I was also quite surprised by the sort of open zone. Is that what we're calling it?
That's what I would say. Yeah. Sonic Frontiers, the open zone gameplay. Yeah.
Sonic Frontiers walked so Wolverine and Insomniac could run. I wasn't expecting open world. I was expecting more of like a corridor, beating up the goons and going to the next level. So I'm really like I'm interested. I really like the take on the X-Men that we've seen so far. I love X-Men. I want more X-Men. Just inject it into my veins. It looks good. I always didn't trust Insomniac with the story. I think that's going to be the shining light here. Whether people are starting to sour to the gameplay mechanics or not, I don't think that will come into it. I think at the end of the day, people will show up still.
Yep, I think so. And I think Insomniac can do the work here to make this game like something you can't ignore, and it just, but through brute force, becomes or is able to reach the level of Spider-Man. And at a certain point, like I'm glad that they are taking a break from Spider-Man, because I do think a lot of the tropes that they got into were due to the kind of the like what was best for that character in those games, and this enables them to do something very different and maybe spread their wings a little bit. Yeah, but I have high expectations for this game, and it's definitely one where, I haven't been anticipating a first-party PlayStation game like this in a while. So to hear people come away for the most part very positive, I'm going to kind of keep those hopes high and be like, this is the reason I'll turn the PlayStation back on. So yeah, after this, God, what does PlayStation have? Like they have, is it what is it called? Interstellar? No, it's the Heretic Prophet. I remember the subtitle, right?
I should know. Intergalactic.
Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. There we go.
And we know that's coming. Do we have the firm release date yet, or is it just we know it's before discs get killed? I believe
that's what we know. Yes, exactly. So it's before January 2028, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So so that's coming probably next year. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's definitely one that I want to see what Naughty Dog it has up their sleeve when they're like, they seem like they're trying something different there. They're not just going for the like super cinematic. We're going to follow behind the character, and they're going to be very grounded. This is a character that can like do a super mega uppercut and send characters up in the sky, and then hit them with the sword, almost Devil May Cry style. So it's like, okay, they're trying something a little bit different themselves. Like how much different? Like, is that going to show up in the rest of the mechanics and the structure? This is maybe not as extreme as that, although I'm not sure what I should expect from Naughty Dog in terms of extreme differences. But I'm like, okay, these big studios that have found themselves not in a rut, but in their lane for PlayStation, can they try some different stuff and deliver something that feels a little bit fresher? Because that is what I'm craving from those studios, and this is maybe the beginning of that. All right, let's get on to the headlines here. Netflix is closing the Oxenfree studio. Night School Studio and Moonloot Games are shutting down as Netflix restructures games again. Night School was acquired by Netflix in 2021 and released unhinged only about 6 weeks ago. Netflix is also cutting additional jobs in its games organization. The company says it's concentrating on 4 areas: kids, party games, narrative games, and more mainstream titles with a heavier emphasis on games playable through TVs. Netflix co-CEO Greg Peters had recently highlighted Unhinged and said it was producing really solid numbers. Netflix is abandoning the traditional studio acquisition strategy. It seems like that it started with like when it began its video game initiative, and now it's moving towards games that directly reinforce Netflix as a service. Which, okay. I am having like a hard time like reading like what Netflix's strategy is for games, but it's this game, they did say really solid numbers, and 6 weeks later they're closing the studio. I think it's a real shame because Night School did some pretty good work.
Yeah, I mean, it's like like it's feels stupid to say I'm surprised now by just the sheer cruelty of these layoffs and how nonsensical they are. But this is completely nonsensical. If you want to create it would be like Netflix saying, okay, we're going to do all reality TV shows now. No, none of these expensive originals, which, a lot of streaming services did do a push to reality TV because that is significantly cheaper than paying writers. But you can't only do that. So I don't understand why you can't focus more, getting some kids games in there, getting some party games in there, but then also have these studios making high quality games for you that could get award recognition. I cannot unless you just fundamentally don't understand the gaming industry and you're trying to force your way into it, which does seem like that's what Netflix is doing.
Yep, 100%. Like that's the issue with all these big companies, especially the big companies that consider themselves tech companies in the way Netflix does. They're like, hey, we understand software and technology and what's required to produce something that people can run on their hardware or stream over the cloud. And then they go to look at what games are like, and it's like, oh, wait, no, this is way more complicated. There's way more moving parts in terms of the audio-visual components and then the gameplay and the mechanics and the design. And they always underestimate it. And I think Netflix is maybe not as guilty as some, like Amazon, of constantly underestimating what is required from video games. But I think they are consistently learning the lesson over and over again. I'm just like, I still am confused because it's like they are going to throw themselves into narrative games. That's one of these 4 pillars here. And that's what Oxenfree, the Oxenfree studio was. That's the kind of games that they make. But maybe it's like this 4th pillar is like, oh, more mainstream. And we do know, like, the one video game thing that I could think of involving Netflix right now is that in a couple of weeks, they're going to have a big reveal for Grand Theft Auto 6. And it's like, do they think that like that sort of thing, like they're going to appeal to those kinds of gamers? Because it's not like Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be on Netflix, or maybe it will be at some point. I don't know. It's weird. What do you make of that?
I think everyone's got the people in this industry who don't understand how this industry works, but think they do. It's solely because of GTA 6, right? They know GTA 5 made more money than the human mind can comprehend.
Yes.
So they think that is the beginning and the end of the entire industry. But it's not, And it's to put us in like, maybe getting a bit too industry technical here, It's like when a website thinking, oh, people are only going to play GTA 6, let's ignore all of the slate of games coming out in September. That's not true. People won't. And you've got so many people who make the decisions in this industry who have now just all set their sights on this. So yeah, maybe Netflix is thinking like, oh yeah, well, these games were good, but no one's talking about them like Grand Theft Auto 6. So, let's put all of our money in that. So maybe we'll see more collaborations with Rockstar, if not necessarily getting GTA 6 on Netflix. They could get like more of the back catalogue on there.
Right.
Or just more something to do with Grand Theft Auto. I'm sure there are currently people who are paid far too much money in a meeting right now brainstorming how they can milk this for all it's worth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll get to that actually in a little bit.
Yeah, we are going to get to that.
Yeah. It's
basically.
I want I don't know anybody who plays a Netflix game on their TV. I've heard people talk about Point B, which is the sort of downwell sort of game where little googly guy is jumping around, and that game's gone free. But a lot of people did play it on Netflix, but they played it on their phone, which is where Netflix was originally sort of aiming their efforts. And it was this idea of, if you subscribe to Netflix, you can then go into like the Play Store, which I have Android, so I go in the Play Store, and you can download these games that are only accessible if you have a Netflix subscription. So, okay, that makes sense because I don't need anything extra. All the stuff required to get into this game, I have before me, a Netflix subscription and my phone, both things that I would use if I'm watching Netflix on my phone. The controller on the TV, I guess maybe some of these games that they're thinking about are controlled by phone, and then they'll play it on TV. I could see that being like what they're talking about with kids and party games. The Jackbox route. That does make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
I've been in several situations now where it's like, oh, I brought my Steam Deck and I'm plugging that into the TV. There's got to be an easier way. Well, there is. It's something like Netflix. That would make a ton of sense. But then you pair this up with Grand Theft Auto 6 and that stuff, and it's okay. That is the sort of more mainstream titles here in these four pillars. Who's going to be connecting a controller to their TV to play games on Netflix? And I think that group is pretty small, because if you have a controller, it's probably because you have something else to use that controller on, would be my assumption. And you're going to prefer to play it that way and bypass Netflix completely. But I don't know. I'm probably missing an audience out there, Rhiannon. What do you think?
I don't know. I think you're like bang on the money there. I think like logically you'd think, okay, they're going for the casual market, but the casual market already has things they can play games on. Everyone does. Like you mentioned phones. Okay, they're probably already playing games on their phones, and now you're telling them to. And even if they've already got a Netflix, like I've got a Netflix subscription, and this sounds bad, I've never played games through Netflix because I frequently forget that there are games on Netflix. They're just not pushed as much as they ought to be. But also it just isn't sort of natural. If I want to watch TV, Netflix. If I want to play a game, console, PC, laptop, something like that. And the casual audiences have that too. If they're thinking, oh, I want to play a video game, they're like, okay, well, I've got a Switch. I'm going to play on my Switch. Like you said, Jackbox is a really good idea, because that is when you want to play Jackbox, when you've got like an urge to play it when you're around people, and it's like, okay, who's got something we can play that on? And you sort of ask around and figure out who's the best person to host it. Mm-hmm. Being able to eliminate that by just booting it up on Netflix is a genius idea, and then you don't need to have the controller worries. I think basically companies to think about how much faff is it going to be, and if it's a lot of faff, people aren't going to do it. If it doesn't come to them immediately as an idea, they probably won't do it, because there is a million other things they could do that are just easier and right in front of them, and they're already doing. So I think that's what Netflix says. That's what the GTA one, like the special they've got, is like a good idea, because it's watching something, it's Netflix, makes sense. Yeah. But in terms of games, they've got to really think about. Well, I can remember the one time I played something slightly gamey on Netflix was that Bandersnatch Black Mirror special.
Right.
And that's because they really went to town on like advertising that and marketing it. It was like this big event.
Yeah, it was an event.
Yeah, and it made it very clear how you play this. Maybe they need to think outside the box. They can't just sort of take traditional games, which looks like they're doing, by saying that they want more mainstream games and bunging it on Netflix and just hoping that people come to them. Like, no, I think they have to think about the practicalities of it a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, this story really just highlights that all these other entertainment companies just look at video games with such envy and jealousy of the ability of the video game industry to monetize the people who play video games is something that we are desperate to have ourselves. if we could sell cosmetics for a Netflix show, we fucking would. And they're like, okay, but we can't do that with video games, so we got to get into that business. We're missing out on so much money. I don't know. I'm continue to be interested in like how they approach this, but also have only a little bit of faith that they'll be able to figure it out. Okay, 2K unveils ambitious new sports studio stuffed with EA Sports FIFA talent. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. 2K has announced an ambitious new sports studio led by EA Sports FIFA veterans, which it says is building its next blockbuster sports franchise. Small Axe Studio is a AAA development studio formed from 2K's exploratory Sports Lab project, which was established back in 2023. It said in an announcement. Notably, the new developer is based in Vancouver, where EA makes its football club games, which were previously called FIFA, and is full of former EA Sports veterans. The studio is led by executive producer Aaron McCarty, who previously held the same role for EA Sports' FIFA team for over 15 years until 2021. Small Axe's design head is another EA veteran, Gary Peterson, who worked on FIFA titles spanning back to FIFA 06. Other 20-year EA Sports veterans at Small Axe include head of operations Tom Pan, engineering lead Mike Thompson, and technical art director John Cruz. According to an announcement, 2K wants Small Axe to use its experience to redefine the future of sports video games. Although no specific sport is mentioned in the announcement, potentially of note is that the studio's logo takes the form of a football club-style badge on a sports shirt, which screams FIFA to me. Okay, so look, they're going to make a soccer game. They're going to make a football game. It is that seems pretty likely at this point. And then I guess the question would be: are they going to do that and then go pay FIFA the money that EA wouldn't pay and get that branding? Is that the plan here, or do they just spot an opportunity now that EA Sports Football Club is no longer using the FIFA name, and maybe that just changes things a little bit? And you know, people are never feeling super happy about FIFA just because of the constant monetization. Maybe offering an alternative would be appealing, but it's not like 2K's somehow not chock full of that stuff as well. Those NBA games are famous or infamous, I should say, for their monetization, sometimes even worse than FIFA. But I don't know. What do you make of this?
I mean, it seems a bit silly to say it's a gamble to go in on one of the most popular genres of all time, but I mean that in the sense of like, FIFA or now EAFC is to some people one of two games they buy every single year. So you're getting into a market which people might not buy both. And you're getting into it as a newcomer when EA has had time to set itself as like the default place to play a football game. But then EA has also had a lot of time to completely destroy any goodwill that it ever once had, maybe 50 years ago. Like I don't think anyone, I mean, maybe if there is an alternative, people do want it, you know?
I have seen people talking about eFootball positively recently. Like people are going like, hey, maybe Konami's got something over there.
So like, yeah, I guess maybe people see blood. They're like, okay, cool. Maybe as soon as I think it started as soon as the FIFA license was taken away. It's like, okay, you know, you're not just being crowned the king of football games anymore. So I don't think they'd probably go down the then again, setting up a whole studio, like setting up a whole division, stuffing it full of talent does suggest that you want to be the one. You know, you're not just sort of hedging your bets and seeing if this might work. Like you are, so maybe they would fork over the money, but that's an ungodly amount of money, and especially with FIFA and the state it is now, I can only imagine the amount that they're charging under the current controversial leadership, who is very, very money orientated. So yeah, I don't know what the play is going to be here.
I mean, at the very least, it's not like they rushed out to do this the second the FIFA license was available, right? There was that ended up going to like some weird Netflix game that the studio got shut down a couple weeks after it came out around the time of the World Cup. So 2K, Take-Two, they weren't rushing to it and being like, oh, we'll give you the money instead, and then we'll figure things out. At the very least, they let things cool off. And I wonder if, like, in the process of doing that, the people responsible for building this studio and the people at the publishing arm of Take-Two and stuff were looking around going, maybe let's just make the game first. And then if FIFA wants to come to us and offer it at a reasonable price, maybe we'll begin adding the FIFA name in the future. There's definitely, 2K acquired a golf game from an indie studio and then applied the PGA license slowly over time to that. I wonder if they're trying to replicate that here. Although, I think if anything, EA Football Club has proved you don't need the FIFA name, and $1 billion for that name is absurd. It just does. I mean, I guess the next time there's a World Cup, EA, and if 2K does have a successful football game at that point, if they have a soccer game going, I bet there will be a bidding war for to get the World Cup in the game. But that is years away at this point. So I think they're like, let's just kind of maybe go without FIFA for now and see what happens. At the very least, I am excited about the possibility of more competition in the sporting game side of things. That region of video games has become so stagnant over the years because the big dog won and everyone else had to leave the space, and that's true in just about every major sport. Soccer's the one where there is a couple of options here, but even then, it's like, well, one of those is a free-to-play eFootball game. It's not exactly the same thing. Getting yet another competitor in there, I hope this proves that this is possible, and maybe that could come back to, Madden could face some competition, and there'd be even more baseball games. I would love to see that. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, there's more details about what this GTA 6 reveal looks like on Netflix. We'll get to that and a lot more. If you want to skip out on these ad messages, you can do so. We offer a way. If you go to giantbomb.com/join, become a premium member, you can find the ad-free version of the video and the audio show there. We will be right back. All right, it's Game Mess Mornings. Jeff Grubb, Rhiannon Bevan. We're getting back into the news here with the next story. Extended look at GTA 6 to span multiple episodes, according to removed screenshot. This is from Josh Coulson at The Gamer. Rockstar is gearing up to show off a lot more of GTA 6 via an extended look at the game later this month that will premiere on Netflix. Not much about how the extended look will work has been shared. However, now removed information spotted on Netflix in Portugal suggests we're going to see and hear a lot about the game. Shared on the GTA 6 subreddit, the screenshot shows that the extended look at GTA 6 will span multiple episodes. The episodes were given runtimes: 23 minutes and 37 seconds, 24 minutes and 41 seconds, and 18 minutes and 29 seconds. If accurate, then not only will the extended look run for 3 episodes, but those episodes will total almost 77 minutes. That's well over an hour of info about GTA 6, most of which will be almost certainly be stuff we don't know. That's a lot of time to fill. So far, runtime guesses have ranged from a simple 5-minute trailer and maxed out at around 20 minutes. So they're maybe they're going to really go to town on revealing this thing. And I think this is, partially due to, GTA 6 is going to have a lot of stuff. My guess here is this more has to do with, let's make it worthwhile for Netflix. Netflix is going to be paying a bit of money to reveal this thing. How do we sort of make it feel like an event? How do we make it feel like, it had to be on Netflix? This couldn't just go on YouTube. It's too big for that. I think it's sort of worked backwards from that perspective a little bit, Rhiannon. But I don't know. How do you read what is happening here? Do you think people are going to be showing up for 77 minutes of GTA 6 on Netflix?
I think they'd show up for 77 hours, absolutely people are going to show up for this. I do think, I don't want to say temper expectations, but the timings here would suggest to me, like you said, they work backwards. It was, all right, now let's stretch this out into 3 episodes. Or maybe they tried 2 and were like, I reckon we can squeeze another one out there if we just edit some stuff out the first 2. That's kind of what this tells me. I'm really interested what format it's going to take, because Netflix, I'm not going to call this a documentary because it's probably not, but Netflix documentaries already have this very distinct flavor to them where they're also a little bit biased to the person who's the source for them. Mm-hmm. So, and this is going to be so carefully orchestrated by Rockstar, very cinematic, very dramatic. So I'm also expecting a lot of, I don't want to say filler, but kind of filler, because this is on Netflix. This is also for the audience who haven't been following every single update, who haven't been analyzing every trailer, who may not be very aware of the hacks, but haven't looked at the leaked content. There'll probably even be a section talking about the leaks and the impact of that, I imagine.
Oh, that's possible. Yeah, if it goes documentary style, which it does feel like it easily could, that might happen.
I think there is going to be a more human element to this from a corporate standpoint of talking about the work that's gone into the game rather than just sort of showing off gameplay itself. I'm not expecting anything like we'd get at, it won't be something from Summer Game Fest or E3 back in the day. It's going to be its own thing. And it kind of seems like it's filling the void that would normally be taken up by previews done by the press. This is them
Those
owning...
aren't happening.
Yeah, they're not, of course they're not happening. We'd be lucky if we get reviews. Maybe they'll lock us in a building and let us play it as a treat.
Maybe.
And then we write our review and they brainwash us to forget everything afterwards. But yeah, this is just Netflix. I think that they'll present it in a way that's very sort of, this is what we're giving you to the fans. Very clean, professional. But ultimately, this is them continuing to control the narrative and also make loads of money. And also Netflix makes loads of money in the process. I will be interested to see how it goes, because if it goes well, if people eat it up, we can expect imitators, I would believe, because at the end of the day, publishers would love to get straight to the fans rather than going through any sort of third parties.
Yeah. I'm like wondering, it's like, if this is like a documentary and it feels like original content and not just a commercial, it's like, oh man, we were going to talk over this thing. Maybe that'll be a little bit more difficult now. So, but I thought there was early words like, oh, they'll have some option for co-streaming or something, but we'll see. We'll figure it out as we get closer. Yeah, this is it's just a strange thing, but it's obviously it could only happen with GTA 6. It's not like this represents any sort of shift in the industry. It just kind of speaks to Netflix having an interest in games, and then there's one game that would come up when it says, okay, well, what moves the needle? And they're right. This is it. This will get attention. People will show up to watch this. People will even subscribe to Netflix to watch this. There's, we got the early word from Strauss Zelnick about, the unprecedented levels of pre-orders, and more people who are pre-ordering are getting the $100 version versus the $80 version. It's like there's a lot of people who want this game who are not price sensitive, and they're going to show up right away, and they're going to want this information, so they'll hop on Netflix and watch it. But yeah, it's I expect them to do episodes that are, when they do talk about the people who made it, and then they'll focus on major aspects of the game. Here's how the world works, and then here's a whole episode about, and here's the characters, and here's the the voice actors, and here's how we did everything. Here's how we brought them to life, and then here's the underworld or the missions or something like that, and how we upgraded the car systems and the shooting. I don't know. It's going to feel like a very weird. It's going to be the weirdest game preview that's ever happened. It really is.
Because it's a game preview done by the people who make the game. It's bizarre. It's weird. I've already sort of found, because to a lesser extent, Xbox does this when they do their developer direct things, where they do this little documentary style look into the studio. They did one for Fable recently. That's always kind of, I find it neat because I like finding out more information about a game, but it's so controlled. It's so sort of, it's like a faux documentary, and I'm interested to see what form this takes, but it doesn't really matter what form it takes. People are going to be there. We'll be there.
Yep. Earlier you said it feels like people who don't know the industry are going to ignore all these other games. And I'll say, I think that's really true. GTA 6 feels like this thing that just is going to dominate. But at least from the audiences that listen to this kind of show and read video game news, I really do get the sense that most are sick of it already. They're like, there's so many other games I also care about, or that I care about instead. And I'll do a post about GTA 6 on our social feed, and man, it didn't just not do great. It didn't do as well as a lot of other stuff, and part of that's maybe it's just so well covered at this point, and we don't know that much more about it. But even when we do get new details, it's people are just it is like air. It is always there. I'll when it shows up, I'll pay attention then. But until that point, I just kind of want to think about other games that I'm going to either be playing sooner or that I'm more excited about. And so, yeah, I wonder if there's any sort of, we get into this and it's people already knew they were going to buy this game. But I think we're probably talking about different audiences at that point. The audiences that are showing up for this show, and then the wider audience that really cares about GTA 6, that will be who Netflix is going after, and they will capture with this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think, like you said, the oversaturation thing is going to annoy people who are plugged into gaming, who do buy more than one game a year. That they are probably fed up at this point. They'll probably still play GTA, but they were going to do it anyway. But they're the kind of people who publishers sort of ignore at their peril by not acknowledging that there are those audiences. They might be smaller, but they are dedicated. They are the ones who are regularly spending money on gaming, not just once a year. I think chasing after the people whose interest in gaming is far more casual, you know, that the results can be huge, but also I imagine a lot harder to convince people to hand their money over there. As you pointed out, they're happily doing that with Grand Theft Auto 6, probably a combination of all types of gamers there getting the pricier edition. And it's also because of how that's being treated, right? Like it wasn't like here's the game, and also if you're a super mega fan, buy the extra stuff. It's like here's the game, and if you're on a budget, here's a lesser version of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a lot of people are getting the pricey one because they've waited so long. That wouldn't I really hope publishers don't try and emulate that. Some would argue they already are, but I don't think to that extent, because it won't work. People will just get really, really angry. I mean, look at the Outer Worlds 2 when they tried to charge, whatever it was for that originally, $80 originally. Like, people wouldn't do it,
Yep.
GTA 6 has basically made, its pricier version the point of entry, and they've gotten away with it. And yep. I'm just so scared that all the people that don't understand the industry are going to learn all the wrong lessons from all this.
Oh, that's inevitable for sure. There is one more audience that I'm curious what you think is going to be thinking about GTA 6. This massive audience of people who maybe came into gaming in a bigger way during the pandemic that like to play games with their friends and I think powered games like Metro Chameleon to 20 million copies sold. Are those also people who are playing Grand Theft Auto, or is that a different group of people, you think?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, because I honestly don't know.
Yeah, that's going to be a really interesting test because that's a fairly new demographic. And I think looking into what their spending habits are going to be like, sorry, that sounds so corporate, but it kind of is, everything about GTA 6 is so orchestrated and corporate. I think they still have a love of narrative games, at least like anecdotally seeing what these kind of audiences are into. And I think, the proof is in the pudding so far. A lot of, the sales for the pricier version are really high. I think if you're playing a lot of sort of friend slop games all the time that are relatively cheap, yeah, you might justify. I think because you're very much influenced by what the people around you are doing, and the people around you are going to be talking about Grand Theft Auto 6. So even if it's not multiplayer, it is an event which you will want to be part of, right? Good point. It's going to be, and that's why they can get away with doing the GTA Online stuff like way later, because they don't really need it at launch. That doing it post launch is probably the best idea for them because it's a second
launch. It's a second time to launch the game. Yes, you're right. And then at that point, people who have been hearing about it, like now I can play with my friends. If they waited in the wings, it's like now's a chance to hop in. Although you're right, I think many of them will just buy it because they want to be part of the conversation. That is sort of a huge part of that social gaming aspect. All right, let's keep going here so we don't fall too far behind. Every 1 in 5 Switch 2 owners has purchased Pokemon Pokopia. This is from 4 James at Polygon. Pokopia's success shouldn't come as much of a surprise given how well it was received by both critics and players alike at launch. On Metacritic, it has an average critic score of 89 and a user score of 8.7. Meanwhile, OpenCritic says 97% of critics recommend it, and it has a player rating of 100. Those are some impressive scores. Our own review called it a charming life sim. However, when you contextualize that with the specific sales figures, it becomes even more impressive when you combine it with those. Over 5 million players own Pokemon Pokopia, according to a press release, which translates to 21% of Nintendo Switch 2's 23.68 million owners. This also means it's the second best-selling game on the console behind only Mario Kart World, which has a whopping 15 million copies sold, but that was also bundled for quite some time. Pokopia was a gamble by the Pokemon Company. Pokemon is huge, but there's never been an official game in the series that focuses so heavily on building a community and developing the relationships between the different Pokemon. It's essentially Animal Crossing meets Dragon Quest Builders, developed by Koei Tecmo Omega Force. But it certainly has worked. It also seems like it's built what I think we have to consider a new pillar of Pokemon, right? This is going to be the way some people think of Pokemon going forward as the Pokopia game. I think it is that big. how do you think, do you agree with that, or is this is something where it's like, no, this was always obvious, Pokemon fans were always these kinds of players as well?
I think it's a bit of both, right?
Okay.
Like, because I'm like not surprised by its success at all, and I'd be very surprised if Nintendo was, but maybe they are. Because it's the kind of, I mean, the genre is the kind of thing that does really well on a Nintendo platform, and then it's
True.
Pokemon, which always going to do well. As you know, even when the game's falling apart, it does well. This is a game that works and is also good, so that is great. But at the same time, I think Pokemon's always wanted that they've been so scared of being left behind with a lot of other sort of 90s IPs, and they have done like a really good job of it considering, you know, Pokemon's, I don't have any numbers to back this up, just vibes, but you know, as big as it was when I was a kid and when, you know, my mom was a teenager, that's crazy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So like with that, I think like they tried this first with like the Let's Go series. That was their attempt to sort of really make sure this stays in the conversation.
Right, because that was playing to the, you know, the people who are playing Pokemon Go. So let's find a way to like bring the core games back into that audience.
And while like I'm not going to say they did badly, I don't think they stayed in the conversation as long. I don't think anyone.
Yeah, they sold very well, but yes, it was not like some new thing. For it was, it definitely appealed to the same people who had been playing Pokemon.
But it hasn't, like, no, I don't think there's a great demand for them to continue that. You know, it didn't have the cultural staying power that Pokemon Go had, for example. It just, people, they liked it and went back to Pokemon Go, or the more mainstream fans went back to the mainstream series. Whereas this, I think, is like a really natural way to bring both of them together, because there is just something for everyone here without alienating anyone. And I really do think that we're going to see more demand for this. I mean, the comparison to like Animal Crossing is perfect because New Horizons did ridiculously well. Anyone who likes New Horizons is probably going to be interested in this, even if they're, I'm not going to say they've got no interest in Pokemon, because anyone with a Nintendo platform is probably slightly interested in Pokemon. But even if they're not, that's not their favorite thing in the world, they're going to try this because they like the gameplay. It's just such a genius idea. And I absolutely do agree that this is going to be a new sub-series that they explore, and they should explore.
Yeah, I think that's exactly, like, this is the kind of thing where, yeah, sure, Pokemon's had a lot of spin-offs before, and they often do well. This is beyond that. This is something where it's like, yes, a whole new sub-series that can build on what Pokemon's doing in a different direction. And, I was always expecting it to do very well. I just wasn't, I don't know if I was looking at it being like, well, obviously, that is going to be one of the biggest games from the Pokemon franchise in quite some time in terms of the spinoffs. But I think at this point it's going to be the biggest one. Like there's not a bigger one of the spinoffs. So yeah, it's done something else here, and deservedly so. It's a very good game, and I hope the team over there is able to like parlay that into more of these, but also back into Dragon Quest Builders, and more people check those out. So yeah, we'll see what happens next with this. Speaking of Pokemon, Pokemon Bank finally has an execution date. The Pokemon Company says Pokemon Bank service ends February 26, 2027. Once that connection disappears, Bank can no longer be used as the bridge for transferring compatible older Pokemon into Pokemon Home. This is especially notable because Pokemon has spent decades encouraging players to treat individual creatures as persistent collectibles that can follow them from generation to generation. Jan, are you there? Can you tell me, like, what does this mean for someone like you? Like, 'cause I know you've been collecting Pokemon a long time. Do you have Pokemon that you had in Bank that you won't be able to get anymore, or what happens here?
I'm not of that camp where I've invested my Mons in Pokemon Bank. I kind of fell away from the series for a hot second, but I do know a couple folks that are pretty bummed because of how, I wouldn't say difficult, but involved the processes for moving older Pokemon to more modern methods of storing them. Also, just having to pay for Pokemon Home is a bummer for people as well.
Right, exactly. Yes, this is going to sort of break a chain of people being able to like continually move their Pokemon from one game to the next. That goes all the way back to I think Game Boy Advance. Which is a shame, but I mean, I'm almost surprised it went on for this long. But then at a certain point, it felt like it would just always be there. Rhiannon, what do you think?
Yeah, like you said, I'm so surprised they kept it going this long. I was kind of hoping they forgot about it and it just wasn't costing them any money to maintain. But of course, they remembered. I'm really bummed out about this. It has to be said. It's weird, right? I can remember watching. There's a few years ago, someone figured out a way of how to theoretically get your Pokemon from the first ever game all the way to the newest one, using some sort of. I'm not smart enough to understand how it works, but basically you got the data.
Follow.
But I remember thinking like, oh, but it's not the same because you're just transporting the data over, not the Pokemon itself. And then I'm like, I'm a grown woman, and I didn't. It just took me this long to realize that's what the official methods were doing. They were just taking the data and putting it on there.
But recreating it.
For me, it felt like I was actually taking the Pokemon that I'd had since I was a kid, and it was the same one. It was the same golden Pidgey I'd had all this time. But no, so it is kind of like, oh, the magic's gone a bit. But in the grand scheme of things, I think it's going to be people like me that care, and then the younger fans, which they're going to increasingly be going for, they're not going to be caring because they're not playing games that old. I mean, try buying one. Try buying any Pokemon game old enough to do this with right now. It's bloody impossible. So yeah.
And it's like, I think this was always a subset of the audience, right? There's most people, the vast majority of people playing Pokemon are just going to play the new Pokemon and collect the Pokemon in that game and not transfer any from any old ones, let alone from the very first games or the Game Boy Advance games all the way to today. But the fact that it was possible, and now it's going to be more difficult or impossible in some circumstances. It's sad to see is the right way to put it. All right, Darksiders 4 and a new Kingdom Come game are planned to come out by the end of March 2028, according to Embracer. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. The long-awaited Darksiders 4 and a new game in the Kingdom Come series are expected by the end of March 2028, Embracer Group says. In an interim report covering its Q1 results for its current financial year, the Swedish holding company gave an update on a number of some of its notable upcoming releases, as well as previously announced games such as the 2 upcoming Tomb Raider titles. The update also referred to Darksiders 4 and a new Kingdom Come game, neither of which has yet been officially announced by name. Our pipeline is strengthening while CapEx and OpEx continue to trend downwards, the statement reads. The current financial year is anchored by Metro 2039 and Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis, both expected to release in February 2027. Momentum for Metro 2039, developed by our Studio 4A Games, is strong. After its reveal, the game raced to 1 million wishlist in record-breaking time, reaching this milestone faster than any title in our history. Wishlists continue to grow ahead of expectation. We are excited to let players experience the game at Gamescom in Cologne in a few weeks. In fiscal year 2027-2028, we expect the release of the next game in the Kingdom Come franchise from Warhorse Studios, Darksiders 4 from Gunfire Games, as well as the externally published Tomb Raider Catalyst from Crystal Dynamics. It's being published by Amazon, along with Flying Wild Hog and Eidos Montreal, who are also working on that game. All right, so this is Embracer kind of maybe trying to reestablish a cadence of releases after the big acquisition spree, and then, borrowing money got expensive, so they stopped doing that, and they closed a bunch of studios and sold a bunch of studios off, and they seemingly have focused on a handful of things here that are their biggest brands. Darksiders 4, Kingdom Come is very successful. Although I don't know what to expect from that next Kingdom Come game. That's pretty soon. I wonder is that some sort of like expand-alone game, like a side story, or is it a full sequel? That seems impossible at this point. But yeah, what do you make of their ability to sort of execute on these promises?
I think very little.
Right? Embracer. Why have faith in Embracer? Yeah.
No, exactly. Apart from a certain CEO seems to have faith in Embracer, I do not personally. It should not, like, how do they own all this stuff? And now they're like, guys, we're going to get a Tomb Raider game out. It's like, yeah, you probably should have done that a while ago. Maybe if you didn't want to own literally everything and put all of your eggs in one basket and have your entire business rely on getting one Saudi Arabia deal, maybe we could have been here a lot sooner. Maybe now, okay, that was a while ago. They've done all the horrible things they've done and the bleeding stopped, and now they will release games. I pray for the studios that are under them and hope that they aren't expecting the world from all of these. I mean, Tomb Raider's Tomb Raider, and the return will be really big, and lots of people are looking forward to that. I just hope that they haven't set their expectations too high for that. because it's going to do big, but again, going back to GTA 6, and they're going to expect GTA 6 numbers from it. Like, please don't.
Right.
Please.
Please don't. Yeah.
So, and then going to Kingdom Come, I really hope that's just like a smaller standalone, because there is one way you could get a full release out now, and that would be AI. And I really, and I know a lot of fans will be hoping that they don't go down that route. So
yes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I wonder because it's all like, this is all very corporate. I wonder if they're just like, that's a big expansion for Kingdom Come 2 that is getting counted as a new release.
Yeah, I feel like they mentioned this before, or maybe there were some leaks. But you're right. There's a possibility that this is just mixed up language, and this could be an expansion. Yeah,
because we know they're doing a sequel. I think we already know that that's happening.
Yes.
It's that in the interim, we might get also an expansion, maybe.
Yes.
That's the only thing I can see coming out in that time.
I hope so.
Period.
Yeah, and I would be fine with an expand-alone, right? Use that base game, and just that's the bones, and then you put a new story on top of that, and you sell that for $50 or something like that. That would be completely cool as well. All right, let's see. Last headline I have here: Roblox is now the target of a congressional investigation. This is from Darren Bonthus at GameSpot. U.S. Senators Josh Hawley and Dick Durbin have announced that Roblox will be the subject of a congressional investigation amid claims that the gaming platform is a threat to child safety. Here's a quote. "You trumpet Roblox as a safe digital playground for children as young as 5, the pair wrote in an open letter. But the public record raises serious questions about this promise of safety. Over the past decade, police have arrested numerous individuals for committing serious acts of violence and harm against children they met via Roblox, including grooming, sexual abuse, kidnapping, rape, and even murder. Roblox is being used to trade child sexual abuse material, participate in sexually explicit and often violent virtual experiences with children, bribe and extort children into producing explicit content, and lure children into in-person meetings. It is heartbreaking. Roblox appears to prioritize revenue and engagement metrics over the safety and well-being of our children, and the alleged criminal activity on Roblox warrants congressional scrutiny. Let us be clear, children on your platform are hurting. Congress will not look the other way." Let's see. Hawley and Durbin added that Roblox reported 65,381 instances of suspected child sexual exploitation to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in 2025, more than doubling what it reported in 2024. Headed by the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on Crime and Counterterrorism, Roblox Corporation has been instructed to preserve its record and turn over certain documents by August 31st. This investigation will also require Roblox CEO David Baszucki to provide evidence as to how Roblox will better police itself. I will point out, separate from all that, Rhiannon, that there was some numbers recently about Roblox having something like 170,000 active users at one point, or like at any one moment, and how that number has dropped drastically. And then people are like, wait a second, it's like that number really does coincide with when they did start policing this stuff, because they were being scrutinized globally and by the press and by other regions around the world. And it's like, oh yeah, so the people that were trying to exploit children are running away. And it's like, oh yeah, it's maybe even worse than that, in my opinion. I'll say this, I am alleging this based on my feelings. That was almost the whole business model, was to let people who wanted to exploit children cosplay as children in a digital space and to get their money. That's the money that was actually being spent in Roblox. And it feels like that has not been fully hit by the rays of the sun and fully aired out for like what really was happening on this platform. How dangerous was it for children? And it's about time that this does get figured out. And this is a bipartisan investigation. Hopefully something does seriously happen here.
No, I completely agree with all that. I did a report on this subject in January this year, speaking to a lawyer who's representing parents, and many of those parents say they wish Roblox never existed. Now, I'm conscious that these things can be moral panics, but when I was looking into it, the angle I came away from is that exploitation is built into the very foundations of Roblox. It's not just the obvious, the sexual exploitation of children. It's the exploitation of their labor. And when that is the foundation of your ecosystem, everything relies on having as many people as possible. You don't want to do anything to disincentivize people from playing. So anything you do to try and keep children safe, you are going to be looking for the least amount you can get away with, the least amount of effort, because you don't want, like the whole thing that they're touting as proof that they're taking this really seriously is these controversial age verification checks. Those are absurdly easy to get past.
Yes.
Just the way I see it, right? Like it's because they want to be the everything game. And when you are that, children are not safe. It's not like, I'm not denying that grooming hasn't happened in other games, but I would go on a limb and say it was a little bit harder in RuneScape, or Club Penguin.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it happened. It was harder because it wasn't trying to be everything. It wasn't trying to, exploit us for labor. It wasn't trying to keep everyone on all the time. There was a degree of that, of course. But it's just like, it just, it's just my opinion. It's rotten to the core. It really is shocking when you look at it, the numbers. I remember, this is going back a few years, and I do think their line has got better since, but I remember this is going about 3-4 years ago. I wrote about, again, like that annual report from a bipartisan source about exploitation in Roblox. And I got a PR response from Roblox essentially saying, yeah, but like the numbers went down, so it wasn't as bad as last year. And I'm like, how do you sleep at night? Like, how are you saying it's like only 90 cases? Only, it's how, if it's one case, that should keep you up at night. It's just shocking that this has been allowed to go on so long. And, I don't like to, be a think of the children type, but like, I have kids. I'm not letting them play Roblox. Like, or if I do, I have got my eyes on them like a hawk. I know parents who are the same, and they are like as tech savvy as they come. Right? Like some of them work in the gaming industry. They are very worried about letting their kids alone on Roblox. It's just absurd that it's taken this long for this to be taken as seriously as it is.
Yep. It's certainly a situation where it's like usually you hear, but what about the children? And that is used almost always in bad faith. And it's like, and I think that is kind of actually worked to Roblox's advantage to a certain point, where they're like, they can then trot out, hey, look how much money we paid to young creators who are getting on a pathway to making games. It's like, yeah, but how much did you make off of their work? And it's more than double or whatever the split is. It's crazy. And then, yes, I think that when we like look at it, just the way that it's structured, to your point, like something like Club Penguin, that was, the curated experiences, and the people that made that game knew all of its corners and like where things could happen. Here, it's user-generated content that they take no responsibility for, and it creates numerous dark corners where there is no moderation happening. And so, hopefully this, leads to more. I just don't want Roblox to fall out of this coverage and this scrutiny. And it seems like at least it continues to pick up pace. And I hope that's the case going forward. All right, let's hit a couple other things here. Later today, D23 begins. The big Disney Entertainment Showcase is at 10 p.m. Eastern time tonight. That's 7 p.m. Pacific. Probably won't have a ton of game stuff. Could have some game stuff, though. People are expecting maybe something Kingdom Hearts 4 related at some point during D23. Gears of War E-Day's public open beta is live now. And then Mafia, the Omerta collection launches today. Collects all 4 Mafia games. And it also comes alongside the Old Country, which is the the Man of Honor expansion for Mafia, the Old Country, which is available now. And then, tomorrow is the deep dive on Kingdom Hearts, and that will feature Haley Joel Osment and some other people. So people are expecting some news there, but no guarantee that will happen. And then, that does it for today and tomorrow. So that does it for the headlines. Let's get to the poll question from yesterday. I have the results right over here. Let's refresh. Which do you prefer, Mario Kart World or Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? I think I prefer Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I clicked that, and so do 76% of respondents. 24% prefer Mario Kart World. I mean, obviously, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was just like, everyone had that game. Everyone played that. And Mario Kart World is just, it is still small fries compared to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So it's going to take a long time for it to maybe ever surpass the shadow it's living under. we don't have a new poll question for today because we're going to do the Bomb 12 instead. So let's wrap up everything else, starting with Rhiannon. Why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you have going on, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so you can find me on Blue Sky, Rhi the Witch on there, Rhi_Bevan on Twitter, but I don't really use that, so Blue Sky is a lot better. The most recent thing I dropped was a interview with union members who just lost their jobs at Xbox, and they spoke to me about what the situation they're going through right now, because it isn't as clear cut as they're gone. A lot of them are still on the payroll as they negotiate leaving, and also their fears for the next wave of layoffs. And I was quite surprised to hear that people from ZeniMax, or the ZeniMax umbrella of studios, aren't convinced that they will be avoided in the next round. Even despite losing so many, they are still quite scared about facing more. Yeah. So you can find that on my Blue Sky. So yeah. Excellent work as always. Let's see here. Giantbomb.com. We got some cool stuff happening later today. UPF, we're going to do a kind of a grab bag. We're going to play that Lord of the Rings game from 2011 that they just re-released recently. We might do some like Big Hops multiplayer, Big Hops together. There was some other stuff we were going to check out. So yeah, show up for UPF. It's going to be a good time. If you haven't caught our streams of a Big Walk, you should definitely check those out. We've done it 3 times now. So going back to the quick look, that was the first episode. But we're continuing that playthrough, and it was really fun this week. We played some yesterday. You should watch those. It has been a ton of fun. Man, it's maybe in consideration for my game of the year. I know a lot of people are talking that way, and it definitely seems like it deserves that. All right. I think with all of that out of the way, we'll be back with more episodes on Monday and next week. But let's wrap up this week first with the Bomb 12, everybody. These are the 12 games that really matter to people who are really playing video games. You all submit your games on a form. I collate them. We get the results here. Let's get into it. Starting with number 12, Mina the Hollower. Number 11, Quake, back on the list thanks to that most recent expansion and new episodes from Machine Games. Number 10 is Pathogenic. Number 9 is Pokemon Pokopia. Number 8 is Marathon. Number 7 is Fields of Mystria, which I think just went 1.0, so popping up here on the charts. Number 6 is Uma Musume Pretty Derby, which I think is in PlayStation Plus. That's why it's here. Number 5 is Final Fantasy XIV. Number 4 is Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. And then our top 3, Splatoon Raiders. Number 2 is Fox Quest 2. You guys, you've done it now, right? It's in the top 3. We get it. You've done the damage now. I feel like I have to make Fox Quest 2 now that it's made the top 3. And then number 1 is Big Walk. Good job. Congratulations to Big Walk. Just barely edging out Fox Quest 2 there. I don't know. It didn't get number 1, so they're still going to go for it. All right. That's good stuff. Hey, I will put this Bomb 12 up on giantbomb.com. So if you go to giantbomb.com, scroll down, you can see the most recent Bomb 12 right there. But on the left-hand side, there's a button that says Vote Here. If you click that, it'll take you to the Google form. Submit your game for next week's Bomb 12. I will collect all the data, and we'll do this again on Friday of next week. But with that all said, I think it's time to get out of here. Rhiannon, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you as ever.
Thank you all for watching and listening. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.